So everybody knows you use tape measures to put layouts on 2x4s, right? Yes. You mark to wherever you want, and we got the different, we'll go over all that in just a second. But let's say you're in the middle of your layout and you drop your pencil and you're up on the ladder 20 feet in the air and the pencil's on the ground and you've got to continue your layout, or maybe just one more. You can use the end of the tape itself for the entire process. Just capture the distance you want in the location you want and use the end of the tape to scratch a mark. Now that's pretty handy sometimes. Not all the time, but once in a while it'll get you out of a jam. There are a lot of things about tape measures that are useful to know, and some of them are just party tricks. And for right now, we have just scratched the surface. So let's say that you have to establish the end of your tape measure on a mark in the middle of a board, and you don't have someone there to hold the tape in contact with the mark. Fortunately, Stanley and almost every other tape manufacturer has put this nifty little slot that corresponds to the head of a nail. So you can hook your tape measure on the end of a nail, and you do not have to call the union hall to get somebody to hold the end of your tape. 2 foot and go. 4 foot and go. 6 foot and go. Now let's hit pause for a second and recognize that 2, 4, and 6 2-foot increments are not the only marks that are made boldly visible on a tape measure. With 4x8 sheets of sheet goods ruling the world in construction, there are 5 different layouts that will accommodate that sort of a piece of material. The first being whole numbers, 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, marked with a black arrow. The next being 16-inch, 16, 32, 48, 64. The next being 19.2 inches. That goes evenly into 8 feet when 16 is too narrow and 24 is too wide. And then 24 inches. Okay, now you can obviously double 24 and use 48 inch on center if you're using a car decking, a tongue and groove decking that'll span 48. But in general, you have the whole numbers, you have 16-inch centers, you have 19.2-inch centers, you have 2-foot centers, and you have 4-foot centers if you're using sheet goods like everybody else uses. Let's say you have to measure to an inside measurement. You cannot simply run the tape by the end of the board. There are 3 ways. You can press the bend of the tape down into the corner and estimate. I would estimate that that is 91 7/8, maybe just a little bit strong. Now, often that's good enough, but there are 2 other ways to think about doing this. Tape measures will usually have imprinted how far it is across the depth of the box. In this case, plus 3 inches. What that means is you hold the end of your tape at the other inside corner, press that up against the end of the world, and see what it says. It says 88, let's say it's 89 for ease of measurement, plus 3 is 92, minus that 1/16 of an inch is 91 15/16. I knew that this one was a little strong. Now let's look at that, 91 15. Yep, that's a pretty good measurement. Perhaps the most accurate way is to run your tape into the corner, hard up, and mark 10 inches. As precise as you want to be. And then swing the tape around, butt it on the other end of the world, come to the mark you just made, and you'll recognize right away that using the tape as a dimension is closer than eyeballing. 81 15/16 plus 10 is 91 15/16. Not bad. You ever picked up a tape measure for the first time, and when you got home and unwrapped it, which is a chore, you see that the hook slips? Now Stanley puts 3 rivets on there, and they last a lot longer now with the 3. And I have heard of people riveting those down because they didn't want no stinking tape measure with a loose end. But what's going on here is that slip is precisely the amount of the thickness of the hook. Oh, I see I need to straighten out that hook. See that bend? That can make it inaccurate. But it slips the thickness of the hook so you can get an accurate inside measurement, pushing or pulling. Depending on what your need is, you can get an accurate measurement, which is what we all want, even if it's not what we all get. Good as new. Sometimes if your hook gets bent and you can find a nice square shoulder at a nice 90-degree angle, everybody's got an anvil around, right? You can just take your hammer and just make it better. So you can use your tape to subtract without subtracting. And once we're done with this, we're going to go back to some practical, hands-on, put the marks on the board in the smartest way you can examples. But let's just say that we want to subtract 76 inches from 233 inches. So you put the end of the tape on 233, and you come right on down, keeping the tape in careful contact to 78 inches. And the answer, my friends, which you've already figured out, is 155. 78 off of 233 is 155. Now you can do that with fractions, you can do that with whatever you want, as long as you keep the tape still, put the end of the tape on the number you're subtracting from, and then come down until the numbers correspond. You got a little bitty construction slide rule. A tape measure and a pencil and a nail will make a compass. Now, if you're ever lost in the Yukon, don't worry about your tape measure because it's not that kind of compass. But let's say that you want to draw a semicircle or a circle or a portion, an arc that's a portion of a circle of a known dimension. You hook the end of your tape in the handy slot. You come over and you capture the pencil with your thumb so that the lead makes contact at the number you want to represent, in this case 24 inches. Keeping the tape tight, you can swing as much of the arc as you want. Now let's say I want to go 2'4". Same thing, more of it. Maybe I want to go 2'8". Now if you're at a workbench and it's controlled and everything is really tidy, these things work really well. And if you're just cutting a lazy arch over an opening, maybe for an exterior elevation, for stucco wrap or something, plenty good. So maybe you need to reach something down in a cavity and your arm it won't get down there. Like maybe you're an electrician and you want to fish this piece of Romex in there, but now how are you going to reach it? Here's how you can reach it. Let me pull the Romex back a little bit, and I make kind of a catch loop with my handy dandy Stanley tape. I run it down there, clear to the bottom. I push it down so that it expands to the full 3.5-inch width. I release the spring so we get a little tension on that thing. I push in some more slack. And now my tape fishes that thing up to where I can grab it. And was I graceful at that? No, but you already know I'm not an electrician. So let's say you have to make an inside measurement and it's too high for you to reach and you don't have a ladder. So you can bend it like this and you can push it up to a known amount on one side, 2 feet on the left, 6 feet, 3 1/4 on the right. That means goes 2 feet on the left, 6 foot 3 3/8 on the right. 2 foot away from 6'3", that opening is 4 foot 3 3/8. Now that'll work, depending on your vision, to the limit that you can read the tape standing on the ground. And when you got trifocals, you don't want to lose your balance and go over backwards. So not only will your tape make a compass for making curved lines, but it's a decent little straight edge. Now is it ideal? No. But you can hook that tape pull it tight, and if you're careful, you can make something that approximates a straight line. Now, in the other video I did, you guys did me the favor of pointing out that it works just as well or better to turn the tape over so that the cup that's in the carbon steel is down. It'll lay still, and you can make something that is actually straight instead of kind of straight. So maybe you're doing landscaping or site work, laying out a radius for a curb or a gutter or the edge of a paver patio, and you need a big arc. So Spencer tapes are great, but any tape will do it. The concrete stake is the equivalent of the nail. The string on the end of the long tape is the equivalent of the slot in the end of the Stanley. And you can swing as big an arc as you can accommodate with your tape. Now, one thing about these Spencer tapes, we did a video on the automatic rewind, and then there came a comment, man, I bought one of those things and the rewind is weak and it fell off the hook. So yeah, sometimes you have to add tension to the spring. It's tricky, I'll show you that sometime. And you have to make sure that that screw stays in there or it'll drop off the hook. But when you got a Spencer that's all tuned up, it's a moneymaker. So here's just one or two more things. You know, sometimes it's hard to make something like a square line around a cylindrical shape. Think sonotube. Or in this case, think smaller. Pipe, 4-inch pipe, sewer pipe. But if you take your tape and bend it the way it doesn't want to bend, and just force it to wrap, to flatten itself out, and wrap around, and then you play with it a little bit, and eyeball it, that's going to clamp on there and make a pretty darn good, pretty darn square line. Now, as you get bigger, now here's a 4-inch pipe. I drew a line on there a few minutes ago, and yeah, it's pretty good. You can play with it. I mean, that's not bad. Now, I don't think it would work that great on a 20-inch sonotube, but there are other ways to skin that cat. So there's a lot of flashy tape measures out there, lots, and lots of them are great. I just have used Stanley so long, it's all I can think of. So whether it's metric, thank you, boys. This one, a Fat Max, will stand out there 11 feet. Sometimes that's important. Or maybe this tape that I've had for quite a long time. It was before metric was making its invasion over here. This was a Klein tool, combo, imperial and metric. Used it some, pretty good. Stands out 7 feet, just like every other 1-inch wide Stanley. English only. Uh-oh, look at that. That guy's getting tired. Crack. See that? That thing's done. It'll cut me. But it still stands out. It rewinds good, even in bad conditions. A smaller tape is sometimes way more practical than a big one. This one only stands out to 5 feet. So, oh, and then this is not Stanley. We won't hold that against it because it's an engineer's tape. It's in tenths. Tenths, hundredths, you know, good for if you're working with an engineer, you got to read grade stakes. So think about it. Look at the people around you. Be honest in what your capacities are and what it's work that you do, and you don't have to settle for just one. It never has to be just one, and I'm interested in what you guys think. What is your go-to tape? Which is your tape measure that just trumps all the rest? And maybe you've got some other tape measure tricks that I just either haven't heard of or forgot or have discounted because of my confirmation bias. Let us know what you think. That really helps us all. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.